Hey guys and welcome, I'm CGA Shrekt, and today we're going to be going through just some basic tools that we need to install for an upcoming With You With Me bootcamp. So today what I'm going to take you through is installing VMware Workstation Player. That is the free hypervisor we're going to use today. We're going to install a fresh distro of Kali Linux 2021.2, I believe we're up to. And we're also going to install Metasploitable 2, which is going to be a vulnerable machine for this activity. Once we get all those installed, get them all up and running on VMware Player, we will make sure that they're working, get the network all sorted, and just run some basic tests to make sure they're up and running. From there, you'll be able to move into the bootcamp with You With Me, and you shouldn't have any issues. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is download all our tools. To do that, you can just open up whatever internet browser you're using. I'm running a virtual machine and I haven't done anything with it, so I am going to use the default, whatever this new Internet Explorer looking thing is. We are looking for, first of all, we want VMware Player. And we're going to VMware Workstation Player for Windows, and that one is downloading now. The next one we want to download, Metasploitable 2, and I'll make sure I put these in the comments as well so you can find exactly where to download them. Didn't actually read that, I just went straight to a SourceForge. That's the one we want. So we'll download Metasploitable. That looks like Metasploitable. Yep, this is Metasploitable 2. So there is Metasploitable 1, 2, and I think there's even 3 now. We're after specifically number 2. So we'll let that download while it's opening up. The third thing we're going to need, if you don't already have it, is Kali Linux. I'm just going to type in Kali and it should come up straight away. We're going to go straight to their home site and we're going to hit download, and they have already made for us virtual machines. So we're going to click on virtual machines. We're using VMware, so this is the one we're after, and we'll use 64-bit. And we'll hit download on that. This is going to be the big one, so that's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah, an hour or so. Well, that's a good start. I do believe that is the page, so I don't know why it didn't download then. Let's try VulnHub. You can see that they download it from the same place, but I'm just going to try this mirror. There we go, looks like it's downloading there now. Alright, so while those are downloading, let's get in and install VMware Player, which looks like it has already downloaded, sorry. So, all we're going to do here, double click, install, enter, however you want to do it, VMware Player. I'm actually going to take a sneaky shortcut here, and I'm going to pause these two. In fact, I'm going to stop these two. You'll want to keep those playing. I've actually already downloaded both of them, but I wanted to go through that install process. So I'm just going to copy them across using Magic Voodoo during a loading screen or something. But in the meantime, let's install Workstation Player 16. So yes, we just want to hit next, accept our license agreement, definitely read this entire thing. Yes, we want to add VMware Workstation Console tools to the system path. I'm not worried about the enhanced keyboard driver, but you know, can't hurt to install. I think that's for stuff like using Control-Alt-Delete and things like that. Now, this is me. Check for products. Yes, I want to do that, but no, I don't want to join the Customer Experience Improvement Program. So I'm going to untick that one. Yep, we can add a desktop shortcut and a start menu program folder. Install. Cool, so what VMware Workstation is it's your hypervisor. This is where we're going to run our virtual machines. By the end of this video, we should have set up our hypervisor to host our virtual machines, as well as our Kali virtual machine and our Metasplittable virtual machine. Now, for those that don't know, a virtual machine is essentially a computer within a computer. The reason we use them for things like this is if we change a file, we break them, we can actually revert the machine back without doing any damage to our host machine, our main Windows or Linux machine that we use for everyday life. Basically provides us a bit of a sandbox environment where we can play around, test things, break things, and there's not going to be the same repercussions as if we were to do that on our host machine. So whenever we're doing any sort of penetration testing or anything like that, it is strongly recommended that you use a virtual machine to ensure that you don't do any damage to your main host. All right, let's hit finish there, and we should have now VMware Workstation 16 player. There are other, I'm using this for non-commercial use, and finish. There are other players out there. There is VirtualBox, there's also VMware Pro. Like you saw there, VMware Workstation Player does require a CD key for commercial use. VMware Pro requires VMware Workstation Pro requires a CD key, a purchased CD key regardless. In terms of other free options, VirtualBox is another free option that a lot of people use, and these are just different hypervisors that you can use to host your virtual machines. I personally like VMware. I find it much smoother and much easier to use. The only thing is that it's paid, which is probably why it's not bad to use. There's not much we're going to do here at this stage, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to do some video magic and copy across those other two files, and then we'll look at uploading our two videos. So I'll be back. Alright guys, cool, we're back, and I have now got our two files downloaded onto our system, and the next step we're going to do is we're going to extract them. If you don't have an archiving tool such as WinZip or 7-Zip, just download 7Z or whatever it's called, 7-Zip. In fact, I'll show you that quickly. Download 7Z, there you go, 7-Zip. And just follow that download path. Download the exe. Obviously, if you download a .7z, you won't be able to extract it. So download 7-Zip exe and install that one if you don't have an archiving tool already. Right click 7-Zip, extract to that folder. It's just the same name as the folder you're extracting from, and the reason I'm doing that, extracting to that folder, is I just don't want it to, depending on how the archive is set up, it might just be a bunch of files and it'll dump them in this folder. This way it'll extract them into folders called those names. So see how that one there, if I had have extracted that one, it would have just made a bunch of files in here, which would make things messy. Alright, now that they're done and extracted, we don't need that one anymore, and we can move on to our VMware Workstation player. Alright, so all we need to do here is open our virtual machine. We can do that two ways. We can do it via this open virtual machine, or we can go player, and I'll show you that in a sec. So I'm on downloads, we'll find our file, and we're going to the Metasplittable file. Metasplittable folder, and there's only one file there, so we'll open that one. And now, like I was saying, you can either go to home, or we can hit player, file, open, and we'll go back to downloads, Kali, and we'll open that one. And now we've got our two machines uploaded. So these are our two virtual machines uploaded into our hypervisor. And the next step we're going to do, and this is completely up to the specs on your computer, so what your computer actually has. Metasploitable 2, we won't need to adjust at all in terms of the resources it's using. So it's using 512 meg RAM and it's using one processor. This is a known program, known system. This is what the recommendation is set to. We're not going to change it because it doesn't need any more. You're not going to be doing any crazy processes. You're exploiting this machine. But network adapters is the other important one here. So we're looking at, it's a host only network adapter, which means that it's not going to connect to your router externally. It's not going to connect to the internet, which you really don't want it to have an internet connection. You really don't want it to be connecting to other things because it is a super vulnerable machine. So that's host only. It's going to be a network hosted virtually on your virtual machine hypervisor. So the next one we're looking at is, so that's all we need to do there, is our Kali machine. Now if we look at the settings here, currently we've got 2 gig of RAM and 4 processors attached to this one. Now like I said, this is up to you and your machine. I'm running this on a virtual machine and I gave this virtual machine just under 8 gig of RAM. What you need to remember is that this is sharing resources with your host machine and all your other virtual machines. So the sum of all of those, what you're using in terms of resources, if your host has 16 gig of RAM and you put this to 17 gig of RAM, you got to remember that your host then has access. If you use all the RAM on this and you're doing high processes, you're going to have sort of 1 gig left for running all your host processes like Windows and things like that. For now, all I'm going to do is leave this as the recommendation settings, and we're going to come back at some point and adjust the network adapter settings so that we can bring it on the same network. But for now, we'll just leave that, and we're going to open up our Kali machine. So make sure we're on Kali, play virtual machine. Yep, you're not going to get that error because you're not running it in a virtual machine. You'll get this one though. If you don't know the answer, I copied it. Basically, it's the first time you're running this machine and we've copied it from somewhere else. Alright, you'll probably get this one here, VMware tools for Linux. We can download, install this. Let's see what happens when we do that. This is used for your resolution and things like that. When we make this full screen or anything like that, it'll use these tools. It's also for copy and paste between your host and the VM you're installing. So it's worth putting these on there. Shouldn't take too long for that one. Yes. Cool. Actually, it doesn't look like it's running too bad. Nice. Alright, by default, our username is going to be Kali, and our password is also going to be Kali. Security. We can hit the full screen button here. It's going to make our entire screen, take up the entire screen, which is cool. For me, this might do weird things. So I'm actually not going to use that. But you're more than welcome to, just because I have additional bars at the top and things. Alright, so in our Kali machine, the first thing we are going to do is quickly change our password. To do that, the only command you need to run is passwd and hit enter. It'll ask you for your current password, which is Kali, and you need to input your new password. So you can make that whatever you want. You'll need to retype it, and we're fully updated. The second thing we're going to do is update the root password. Now by default, root isn't enabled on Linux, on these Kali machines now. But if we go sudo, and we'll talk to what that command means later, sudo passwd, password almost, and root as the user. It's going to ask for our password. So this is our password for Kali user. So whatever you just changed it to. and then it will ask for our new password for root. So we can make that whatever we want, but make sure it's something you can remember. So what we've done there is changed our password and changed root's password. Cool. The last thing we're going to do here is we're going to run a full update to make sure our system is all up to scratch and has the latest services processes running. So sudo update sudo apt update end. This just lets us run multiple processes in conjunction or one after another. Sudo apt full tac upgrade, and then tac y. All this tac y is saying say yes to everything that comes down the line. We're going to run that, and it's going to take hopefully not too long because this is a fairly new version of Linux. Correction, Kali Linux. It is actually the most current or up-to-date install, so there shouldn't be too many updates to go because they keep it fairly up-to-date. While that's going, one more thing that we might want to do, and this is again a bit user preference, is I'm going to go right-click Properties, Preferences, and I'm going to change the transparency because I don't like it being transparent to 0%. I'm also going to go here to behavior. Unlimited history is already ticked, so we don't need to worry about that one. That's just something I like to check. And then we're also going to tick open new terminals in the current working directory. All that means is that when I open a new terminal, it will open in whatever directory I'm currently working. It might not feel like anything to you at the moment, but as you progress, you'll find that that's a really handy thing to have going. Hit apply, okay. All right, we'll be back in a minute and this will be all downloaded. Alright, cool, and we are back. Now that that's finished and we're all updated, we can close that one out and we should be good to go. So the next thing we need to do is open a second instance of VMware Workstation 16. And we want to hit play on our Metasploitable 2 machine. You should get that error saying that you need to continue, that you copied the machine, and that'll come up and you'll just hit I copied and that'll run it through. This will take a minute to start up, and the only time we should log into this machine, you can get the credentials online pretty easily, it takes no effort. The only time you should need to use these credentials is to log in and check the IP address. Outside of that, there's no real reason to utilize the actual credentials because the entire purpose of this is that you break into this machine without them. Also note that when you click on this machine, once you've accessed it, you can see there to return to your computer, press Control-Alt. So Control-Alt will give you your mouse back. But once you click on it, mouse disappears, you're in terminal mode. The username here is MSFadmin, and the password is the same, MSFadmin. Once we're logged in, we can see we're logged in as MSFadmin. We're just going to go IP space A and check our IP address. You can see there 192.168.224.128. If we go back over to our Kali machine here, we can go ping 192.168.224.128 and we can run that. We can see there that we are getting a ping, and that should be everything. We should be up and running. Do one last check just to make sure. 192.168.224.128. to 8, and Metasploitable 2 is up and running. Alright, now that we're all done with that, you are ready to get on with the With You With Me bootcamp. If you have any further questions, hit up your instructor. Anything you had issues with when you were setting this up, just hit up your instructor and they'll be able to talk you through any of the little fixes that are required. And again, those downloads that I mentioned and we went through, I'll make sure that they are in the description for this video if you haven't got them already. Alright, enjoy the course.